We should be like on in 15 minutes, so we are ahead of schedule.
Yeah, except for we're live right now. Depths of Gaming, episode 34.
Yay! Greetings, comrades.
I might just leave that whole
We are
faffing
live.
about in.
Well, faffing about is fun.
Editing? What's that? Okay, so here we are this week in an hour earlier than usual due to Benjamin Franklin, that fucker.
Yay!
It's all his fault.
Daylight savings time.
Yeah. It's all
Also,
his
South African
fault.
preacher makes congregation eat grass.
This more at 11. And so we got a long cringy whingy show today. Let's dive balls deep into it.
Mm-hmm.
So in this week's segment of Necroscourge Hates Everything, I am
There are things you enjoy.
every now and then. So Warcradle, who I worshipped as a savior only a month ago, turns out to have other interests in mind when it comes to dystopian wars. Because they've been doing interviews and such like that saying, oh, we're not really going to make that many changes to the game. We're going to reevaluate our properties. We're going to make each property unique. And so I thought that wasn't scary because, as far as I knew, Dystopian Wars was supposed to be a combined arms game with land, air, and sea, and that was its unique facet. But I guess every single Dystopian Wars is wrong and Warcradle is right because they said, no. This is not a combined arms game. This is just a land and air game, or a sea and air game that accidentally had armored models put into it. So we're going to fix that. And we're all going, wait, what's going, why are you doing this? And then they go, oh, it's not because of any reason except for land models didn't sell that well because of Spartan. But you're all gone, by the way. You're no longer Dystopian Wars players.
You were supposed to be the chosen one.
You were the chosen one! And I'll admit, yeah, a couple days ago I was grinding my gears pissed, but we've
said you will never do such a thing that you will invalidate people's collections.
You were supposed to bring balance to the Force.
Yes. Sorry.
No, it was a good joke. So yeah, I mean, I'm pissed. I'm kind of acceptant, but this continues to boggle my mind because Warcradle is supposed. Now, I'm not saying that Warcradle is supposed to just blindly obey its fan base and do whatever they say. That is absolutely not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You have a profit motive here. Do it.
If fans knew how to have a company, they would have a company.
Yeah, if I knew how to do it, I'd do it. But the fact of the matter is I was relying on the idea that Warcradle would support the game without butchering the roster of units. And here's the other thing, is some other guy was spitting doom and gloom saying that, oh, all the models are going away, they're going to have new models. And I went, well, that sucks, but you know what, they kind of can, they're allowed to do that. Because they could just be resculpts, for all we know. That's not a cause for alarm. What is a cause for alarm is when they come in and saying, by the way, all land players are now Armored Clash players, and you have absolutely no right to criticize or complain about this because the rule set's not out. How could you complain about a rule set that's not out yet? Straw man! and I'm going, wow, you have your lips firmly surrounding your own penis right now, Stuart. He just has his face on his cock saying, but Armored Clash, it's gonna be so good. We're so clever. And
I'm not saying anything.
I know, but I'm pissed. And I get it. They're British. They're obsessed with ships. Fine. I'll give them that. But on the same token, I'm an American player. I love tanks. I want to play Dystopian Wars with tanks. And they say either play Armored Clash or play a very specific scenario where you're allowed to have land units. Well, then I go, well, what's the point of splitting the games? Because if I'm given the option, I'm going to just play Dystopian Wars with land units. So in either case, Armored Clash is not going to do well. And they're pretending, like Spartan did, if they just close their eyes and believe hard enough, Armored Clash will be successful. When Spartan tried that, it didn't work.
Well, that's because they didn't believe hard enough. And we all know that that War Cradle can believe even harder.
Yes, they have a +3 in believing. Like, believe it. They're gonna try it, and they're may or may not fail. My money's on they're gonna fail, but you know what? Whatever. Yeah. And this is not to be taken as, oh, I am boycotting War Cradle. I am not boycotting War Cradle. I am probably going to buy their Uncharted Seas line when it comes out because I find that interesting. That is a game I would play. I mean...
So basically, every time they're fucking you over, you're going to bend over and say, "Thank you, sir. May I have another?"
Oh, not entirely. I mean... Thank you for that, I guess, but... No. I'm... Like, first off, I'm never gonna let War Cradle forget this. I have been incessantly reminding them on their Facebook that they're poopy heads and their farts stink. Like, I have been telling them this frequently. Like, I'm pissed. I really am, because I wanted to play this game with the models I had, and they said, no, you have to buy more models. And I went, well, that's kind of a stupid decision. And I found out why it's a stupid decision. Apparently, they only check the sales data with one retailer. Their parent company.
Oh.
So they're pretending...
Because that's going to give you accurate information.
Because they're pretending like... So here's the thing. They are the main UK retailer for Spartan Games stuff. In Britain, they were the company that sold all of the majority of Spartan stock. Now, over in America, that was split between a handful of retailers because, let's face it, Spartan didn't really cater to us. And they're pretending that because their sales data corrects what they think, it's automatically 100% correct and they can't be wrong. Now, the fact of the matter is they're wrong. They do not have enough data. They only have British sales data, and they can close their eyes and say no as much as they want. They're wrong.
Well, then again, there's also this feeling that I have is that if they have sales data, so basically they have certain income, they can see how much income they have, and they see like 90% of their income coming from UK and 10% coming from US, they're not going to focus on US that much, right?
Oh, hell no. Hell no. They're making a classic Games Workshop mistake, is because they have a fan base that is biggest their fan base is ever going to get. And paradoxically, they're claiming that their focus is on getting new adopters. How the fuck are you going to get new adopters if you just pissed off everyone in your game?
By getting more adopters in UK.
Apparently.
Because only adopters that they care for are the ones in UK. This is basically Nintendo mentality, because Nintendo also only caters to, at least mostly caters to the people in Japan.
Which is ironic because I dare you to walk up to someone on the street, ask them who the video game character Mario is, and I dare you to get more than a 70% I know who that is rate. Like,
yes,
like everyone knows who Mario is, even if they've never played a video game before.
Yeah, Mario is an Italian.
Yeah, and he's not even technically a Japanese character. He's Italian. So, yes, War Cradle poopy heads. Deep Rock Galactic just announced that it's going to have an open beta next week. And it's Left 4 Dead, but in space with dwarves and with like alien critters. Like imagine that Deathwing game that just came out, then imagine it good.
Oh. Okay. I would imagine it good if it had hookers and blowjobs.
That might be in DLC coming soon. We don't know. But yeah, I really don't know much about this game because, well, number one, it's just been announced. It has 4 classes. Each class plays differently. Left 4 Dead, blue. Moving on. This one's really interesting. A new part of the Khufu, I believe it is the Khufu pyramid in Egypt, has been discovered by a organization called Scan Pyramids. It's subsidized by the government. It's got all sorts of scientific backing money.
They're using drones to scan pyramids.
Yes.
That's sci-fi.
Yes.
We live in the future.
We live in the future. We are officially using drones to do archaeology.
And they're doing scanning. Like, send the probe to scan Khufu Pyramid. That's amazing.
It's so cool. And once again, this muography, as it's called, is entirely non-invasive. It's all scanning. It's all radio waves. They don't touch the pyramid.
Yeah. They basically measure how the radio waves propagate through the pyramid at different wavelengths, and depending on how the reflection patterns come out the other end, they reconstruct the insides of the pyramid. Thanks to that technology, they were able to find a new chamber in the Khufu's pyramid.
Yes, and everyone started going, "Oh, Assassin's Creed, you better put this in the game." And they went, "Already did." And so a question occurs. How did Assassin's Creed know? And the answer, surprisingly, is not Templar conspiracy. The answer is actually they work very closely with an archaeologist, I believe. His name is Jean-Pierre Houdin, who is not the person who thinks that the pyramids were a giant grain silo, but is an actual scientist. So wait,
are you telling me that pyramids are not landing areas for giant spaceships?
Surprisingly, no. No, that's not true.
Hey, all the Stargate fans.
Yeah, I know. There's a Stargate fan screaming at his computer right now. Uh, so the reason why they knew something was there is because this Houdin fellow has a very disputed theory that instead of being built externally, the pyramids were built internally. That is to say that they brought the blocks inside the facility and then lowered them into place, rather than the popularly thought conveyor method, where they pushed the blocks with assistance up to the top of the pyramid and built it bottom up that way. And the reason why that theory is disputed is because we have never found any evidence of a mile-long conveyor that was used to build the pyramids, according to those popular beliefs.
Apparently, I heard recently that they actually tried to revisit some of the theories on how the blocks were transported to the pyramid site, and apparently a very effective method is basically using sleds and wet sand. Basically, you have people in front who are wetting the sand, and people in the back are basically dragging all those boulders on sleds.
Right, that's also a possible method, and there's kind of credence to that, because there are a lot of theories that the pyramids go down for some distance. There are theories that the landscape around the pyramids is suspiciously flat. Like, there's all sorts of crazy shit that people say. But the fact of the matter is that Houdin's theory is that there is a large network of tunnels that no one knows about anymore, which was the primary way that people moved around the pyramid. And so Assassin's Creed put this in the game.
Nice.
It's quite interesting, and to be fair, Assassin's Creed has always played with this idea of being pseudo accurate with its history. I mean, the Apple and Eve thing was total bullshit, but there are actual, like the whole Templar conspiracy thing is unfortunately more accurate than we want to believe.
Yes, yes. I'm going to let you believe that.
Don't worry, our friend David's Jewish, so we'll just ask him, because we all know that he helps control the universe, so David would know.
Yeah, he would probably.
It's like, no, it was put there by the neo-Nazis. So it's super interesting. Huge victory for science. Huge victory for the muography team. Huge victory for archaeology.
I really dig the sciencey part of the story. The part about Assassin's Creed, not so much, because ever since they released a sequel to the original one...
Well, without Assassin's Creed... well, here's the thing, is on its own, Assassin's Creed Origins, oh, that's funny, or they're saying that the pyramids has all sorts of super secret rooms, and it was the Templars, and you can just kind of wave that away, but when you combine that with the actual science, that, oh, wait, this guy is a real scientist, and this is a real theory concerning this pyramid that really might be true, then it becomes interesting. Because this void, because this void is just a tiny little segment. Because we know that the Egyptians primarily only use chevrons for structural reasons. They didn't do it because they look cool. And so the theory is that these chevrons are actually layered to make floors.
Mm-hmm.
And should we explore this void by Scan's pyramid, we might find more chevrons, and this would leave credence to the concept that there might actually be a room above those chevrons.
I see.
Because after all, there's always been this theory that at the very top of the Egyptian pyramids is a secret room. Everyone's always had that theory.
Mm-hmm. And now with that new technology, they might be able to find something.
Well, right, because it should theoretically be easier to find something at the top like that with that kind of theory. Mm-hmm. And we're hoping, knock on wood, we're hoping that the Egyptians didn't see this coming.
Mm-hmm.
And went, in 2,000 years, those fucking Americans are going to look for our secret rooms with magical drones. So we're going to put it on the opposite, not the top but the bottom. I mean, really, they thought, hey, someone might break the top of the pyramid. Let's make this hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pyramids are actually quite interesting because originally they were incredibly smooth kind of objects. They were not only big, but they were covered like in white color, topped off with gold.
Yes. Yes.
So that looked amazing when it was freshly constructed.
I mean, since then, all the gold's been taken, but...
Yeah. To be fair, there wasn't much gold there.
It was
just
cap.
like gold-plated.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the theory, is that eventually we might discover a secret treasure room, or better yet, the real chamber where everyone was buried. Because as far as we know, we haven't actually found too much in the ways of these burial chambers that supposedly littered everywhere.
Yeah, people like to shit on archaeology, but they don't know that most of our modern technology comes from all the alien stuff that we discover inside ancient tombs.
Velcro, aliens.
Yes.
DMV, aliens.
That's
right. You're American. You
aliens.
Wouldn't get that joke, or you're not American. You would get that joke. The DMV has a ridiculously long wait time. It's the Department of Motor Vehicles.
I heard from my American friends that you actually do a lot of stuff in DMVs. Like not only stuff with that has to do with vehicles.
It's you go there to renew your ID. You go there to change your name. You go there for it's weird. There is a legal office where you go to do that, but you can also do that at the DMV.
Mm-hmm. And that's the reason why it's the lines are so long.
Well, yeah, because everyone has to go to the DMV. So Dauntless and Monster Hunter have ditched loot boxes in the most recent games.
Yeah, smaller developers are noticing that people do not like loot boxes.
Well, Monster Hunter World was EA.
Yes, but I'm mostly talking about the other
Dauntless,
guys.
Yeah.
Simply because people do not want to be associated with loot boxes because it's bad PR. Second reason is the fact that Monster Hunter did that. It was because we shouldn't let our players skip game because pay to skip our game because that's kind of pointless. And the third reason is some people are intelligent enough to notice that I remember Jimquisition mentioned that when when business is good,
but by the way,
can do no wrong.
By the way,
when
you
business is
can
bad,
thank
you can do no
Jim
good.
Sterling for the Monster World Hunter World part of this news, because his video
Mm.
came out and I went, oh wait, Hunter World did that too. That's awesome. So yeah, you
Yeah,
can thank Sterling for that.
yeah. That guy is pretty influential when it comes to world of video games.
Well, you always hear bad stuff about Jim Sterling, and then you realize all of that was spread by the companies because he points them out on their shit.
Yeah, that's true. To be fair, he's not a perfect guy
Oh no,
like
everyone has
anyone
faults.
else. But thank God for thank God for Jim. Yes,
Tank gods for Jim.
thank God for Jim. Yes.
Just all of a sudden, he gets a package in the mail and it's full of little tank sculptures. It's like tank
That
gods
has
for Jim.
God written on it. Yeah.
Well, no, they have little cards with them that say they're like, this is the god of Sherman tanks.
I would like that. That would be awesome.
Well, he'd open it and he'd have no fucking idea where it came from.
Yeah.
So yeah, because the whole thing is, within the last couple weeks, everyone has been shitting all over loot boxes because, let's be honest, they're a way you can pay to skip content.
Mm-hmm. And recent journals in I've read somewhere on the net said that microtransactions do not impact sales of the of games, right?
Yeah, they came out with, yeah, because the gambling thing came out, and then just a week later they were like, "There's no correlation." But
Yeah.
dude, we just came out with this news. How are we going to know if there's no correlation?
That's because these people are very short-sighted. It's
Extremely.
basically the effect of when the business is good, you can do no wrong. When the business is bad, you can do no good.
Yeah.
Right? And that's basically what's happening right now. These people see loot boxes as a good good thing that not only increases profits, but also kind of smooths out the entire the roller coaster that is the company's profits. But also does another thing. It basically creates a lot of bad blood in your customers. However, just because there's so many of them, the inertia of that effect, it's going to take a while to become visible.
Right.
And these people are since they are not seeing it immediately. They think it's not. They do not have the association with the fact that it's going to be bad later down the line.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to see EA ruin themselves on this.
Well, because the thing is EA. You got to remember that there is we like to pretend like EA controls every aspect of everything they do, but they do actually hire developers that make the games and aren't necessarily beholden to every single thing a shady motherfucker in a back room says. And so this was the developer just saying, hey, in this game, you cut up monsters to create loot. There is no point in adding a second mechanic to do that because we already do it. And on the flip side, we can't make that a paid mechanic because that would be ridiculous. Suddenly, the game is pay to play, and it's ridiculous.
Not only pay to play, but pay to skip.
Yeah. So I'm really glad that they just went. There is no way we can do this. Let's just not try.
By the way, if you ever want to pay for something inside a game to make the game easier for you, like a gun or something like that, I have advice to you. Learn how to use Cheat Engine. Because that's the same thing, it's free, and yes, and it's completely legal. Cheats were at one point in the development of video games a free thing that you got. That it was expected for you to have.
Yes.
Cheats were not being sold to you.
Yeah. It's really funny, and I think this is great, because this is the kind of thing that I was hoping would happen in the industry. Is a handful of indie and major developers would go, wait a second, we might be risking our bottom line if we just blindly go along with this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true.
Microtransactions are designed to be a revenue model for free-to-play games.
Yes.
Microtransactions were never meant to be used in fully fledged paid games. And that's basically what we're seeing right now. Single player games that are that have this microtransaction shit in it. And the worst part is, all those games that have microtransactions in them, they require online connectability in order to function. Mm-hmm. So as soon as the game becomes out of date and publisher or the developer does not longer want to support it,
they drop it.
You're fucked.
Yep. So, I mean, that's the really disgusting part about it that no one wants to really talk about, is what happens if to the players that dumped hundreds of dollars in a loot boxes and the game still goes away.
Mm-hmm.
They're relying on players being short-sighted, and it's disgusting.
Yeah, it's basically they're basically abusing the customer, and they're going to find every possible edge that they can to fight with their enemy, which is their customer. They want to destroy you in order to get as much money as possible out of you.
Well, this is a kick to the pants of game designers that look at their players like drooling idiots and go, no. You are all wrong about how this game works. I developed it. I know exactly how it works.
Yes. Oh, you're having problem with your game. Maybe you're not playing it right. I've heard that argument as well.
Yeah.
Because the fucking developers, especially publishers, have this mentality that if something wrong is with the game, is that the player is probably playing it wrong.
Yeah. and it's this just
passing of the buck that makes no sense at all within the industry. So thankfully this is going to keep kicking them in the nuts, and it'll be great. Mm-hmm. This brings us to an answer that not a single person wanted. No one asked for us to do these answers, but we do them regardless because free country.
We want you to suffer.
Yeah, I mean you could turn us off now, but let's face it: if you watch this as long as you already have, then it's too late.
Yeah, your soul is already ours.
You've probably had a heart attack and died at your keyboard by now. So there's nothing you could do. Give us them delicious minutes. And hopefully you have autoplay enabled, so while your corpse rests on the keyboard, you continue to watch the rest of our videos.
Yep.
So I know I'm giving them the hard sell.
That's the only way we can get any views.
Apparently that's the only way we get views anymore. People having heart attacks at their computer. So, SirPerson36 asks, the Trident
That's
should be...
That's a very posh name.
It is. The Trident should be doing 3d2 damage instead of 1d6. The Trident is currently a weapon identical to the spear, with the limitation of being martial and heavier. I propose that when used with one hand, its damage should be changed to 3d2. This makes it competitive with other martial weapons, giving it the same damage as D8 weapons, with the positive of higher minimum damage and the downside of lower maximum damage. It also suits the three-pronged weapon flavor. What are your thoughts? Edit, probably do 3d4 damage with two hands. I know it says 2d4 here, but if you scroll down, he says 3d4, and I think that's what he meant.
Basically, the change he proposes, so changing from 1d6 to 3d2, right? That basically changes the way that the weapon does damage from every damage has equal probability to a curve, and so if you do 3d2 damage, you basically will roll 4s and 5s the most.
Now remember, a d2 is a coin.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming one side's 2, one side's 1. So you just flip a bunch of coins, and so how dice statistics work is there's a range and there's a probability that each range will be affected. So you have a very high chance of rolling max damage with a two-sided die because it's 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
And it's stupid to do this because suddenly everyone uses a trident because it does the most damage on a minimum and average.
Mm-hmm. Well, the average remains the same. However, the characteristics of the weapon change.
Yes.
Suddenly, you are much less likely to do max damage. Basically, it's about 12% right now. And if you stick to 1d6, it's 16%.
I mean, yeah, it's really kind of fucking pointless.
Yes, basically, think about it this way: people who made D&D, they playtested this shit. They know which die fits the particular weapon the best.
Yeah, it's also worth noting that very early on, 5th edition looked and played a lot like 4th. That's just the framework they started with. And it gradually became more and more like 3.x. And you also have to keep in mind that this game has existed for fucking ever, and what he is describing is how some weapons used to work in 3.x. And they were broken then. And it's going to be broken now. Because you used to do crit build weapons, and it was ridiculous. Like, I rolled a 18, I crit. I rolled a 19, I crit. I rolled a 18, I crit.
And those were fun times.
Yeah,
lots of chaos and
yeah, it was so
gnashing of
fun
teeth.
having one character that contributed all of the team's damage.
Yeah.
Like there's a very quick moment in Harmon Quest where the Goblin Rogue smack talks the Ranger because he did 40 damage to the end boss last season. And the reason for that is because the party is a Ranger, a Barbarian, and a Rogue. Rangers do the least damage in that edition out of all three of those classes. The barbarian obviously uses a great axe, so she does ridiculous damage. The rogue's a rogue, does ridiculous damage. I'm a ranger.
Rangers have other abilities in which they shine.
Have spells, but yeah, he's the weird example of a 3-point-X ranger without an animal companion.
Oh. You usually use the animal companion to basically supplement yourself.
Yeah. I'm not sure why that is. I think Pathfinder Rangers just don't get animal companions. I don't know how it works. I actually have to look that up and then do a public apology for saying that now, but short story is Sir Person 36 is wrong, and yeah, we should all point and laugh at him, and he should feel bad.
Well, let's show a little benevolence here.
I know, I'm fucking around. But...
Yeah. Listen, if the guy, if that change makes it more fun for him, then sure, he or she should go with it. But the game is balanced and for the optimum fun by the developers. And
this game has been play tested
before you start
for
changing shit, you probably should trust the developer.
Yeah, it's because this happens all the time. There's one guy who gets this weird idea that things should work differently than they do, and then convinces the whole group to play along with the change. Then they try the change, and the entire game gets flipped on its head to support this new mechanic that they introduced.
Mm-hmm.
The entire meta of the game changes because they forced it to change.
Yeah, and that's bad, simply because, well, in order for you to make one change, you have to do many other changes in order to make sure that the game remains balanced. So be sure that if you're changing something, you really think it through, because
absolutely.
we all had at one point or another a wonderful idea to make a utopia out of this world, but as soon as you think about it really hard, then suddenly you realize that fascism is not a good idea.
Absolutely, because unfortunately that is the core part of everyone's instantly make the world better plan, is it relies entirely on fascism.
Yeah, that's actually quite interesting, because it always starts the same way. If only everyone would X, right?
Yeah.
And immediately at that point, that's fascism. Because you're enforcing certain point of view on everybody. The feminists do this, Black Lives Matters do this, SJWs do this, everyone does this.
Yeah,
if
both the national committees do it, everyone does
Democrats, Republicans, everybody. If only everybody could do X, immediately that's immediately authoritarianism. And it's a bad idea.
Absolutely, and that's why we make fun of the Republicans so much, because they try to tell us. But by the way, you have Congress isn't allowed to make a law enforcing a religion, but we're a Christian nation, and you better not challenge me on that. Whoa.
Yes.
One of these things is not like the other.
Or for example, this. We should not let religion into Congress, but we should also teach people evolutionary, not evolutionism, but creationism.
But back to the RPG I mean, I was gonna go on a tangent, like for speaking of not playtesting, like before Spartan died out, they released the 2.5 rule set, and it's essentially just a re-edit of the original 2 book, but there are a handful of changes. Some rules are gone, new rules have been added. The one I hate the most is, instead of a lot of the smaller models having a carrier value that allows them to bring planes into the game, they have an inferior once-a-game ability called Wing Launcher that allows them to pretend they're a carrier once a game.
Oh, I see.
And they can only do the action where they reinforce a existing unit of planes. And I would contend that that's okay as long as you remove the once a game caveat. And to be fair, haven't play tested it. I haven't done that yet. I haven't played one game with, played one game without. Haven't done that yet. But I'm of the opinion that I think it shouldn't be once a game.
Yes.
Because otherwise, a lot of the models I rely on are fucking garbage.
Maybe you just don't see the balance.
Yeah, maybe I just have to get good. I don't know.
Yeah, you have to get good.
You just have to get good.
Or you need more Polish troops.
Yeah.
The answer is always more Polish troops.
Yeah, so that's... So that's the thing, is you have to be really careful when you're just changing balance in a rule set, because you're affecting more than that one thing. You're affecting the entire game to some degree. For instance, the 2.5 carrier changes have the amount of tiny flyer planes that are on the map. So all of a sudden that meta changed. However, by destroying the few planes that exist, they get to keep shitting out the planes until you destroy their carrier.
Yeah.
So the meta has changed from I have a ton of planes, let's see how long they last, to I have some planes, and as long as I protect my carrier, I can keep creating planes. And that's kind of a nice interesting change.
It sounds interesting.
Because that was a counterpoint that someone offered me is, wait, isn't it really OP that you can just keep making planes? And then I pointed out that well, no, because only carriers can replace the planes. You have to have, and that means less than 2 models at any given time in your force are able to do that, unless you're playing super massive games where you have so many planes that you're pooping them out every turn. And the really obscure thing is you're able to activate the planes that you create that turn. They don't get summoning sickness, as it were.
That's actually interesting. I don't know. I didn't play much of the Dystopian Wars, but it sounds definitely interesting.
It's kind of
the idea. Yeah.
It's textbook war game in that you have squads. Some squads have more significance than others. Some squads have special abilities.
And some have summoning sickness.
I tap my carrier for mana. I kind of more I'm not satisfied. Now the funny thing is those changes haven't come out yet, so I don't know yet. But them having talked about it worries the shit out of me.
Well, whatever they do, it's basically what they want. so we
Yeah.
can't really change anything about this.
Well, the
We just have
best
to
thing,
accept
as
it.
they said, is we don't want to design by committee, and that's code for we don't want to take customer feedback. But that's our show. Thank you very much. Kind of a shorty
Yes.
today. I lied. I said this would be a long show, but I lied.
It was kind of long.
It felt long because we lost an hour, and so we.
Oh,
truncated.
that's the reason why. Yes.
Yeah. That's our show.